So I honestly think that most of you out there do not need prenuptial agreements when you're going into a marriage. I think that especially for those where there's not a substantial amount of money at risk in these situations, then there doesn't need to be anything done, obviously, or some substantial amount of assets. Then we really don't need to be doing anything in the place of prenuptial agreements. Now, I hear this really often, and this is kind of frustrating, and this is kind of arrogant by the individuals who want prenups in these situations. And so I want to address this for just a moment. Some people say, oh, well, I am going to be a lawyer or a doctor, and this other person is not going to have a career like that. So should I sign a prenup? Should we get a prenup to where, what's mine is mine and what's theirs is theirs, because maybe they're only marrying me because I'm a doctor. Let me tell you this. If somebody is marrying somebody because they are a doctor or a lawyer and that person wants a prenup signed, I just want you to know that doctors and lawyers, just statistically, are typically not great with their money. Now, why are they not great with their money? Because they've racked up tons of debt, and most of them live above what they are really making. They are trying to keep up with other doctors and lawyers. Most of them are not very, very good with their money. And if you are simply saying that, oh, well, I'm going to have a high-powered career, so I'm going to have all this stuff, and I don't want my spouse to have all this stuff, then you have issues. You have issues with trusting the individual that you're about to marry. You have issues building something with someone else and not just being selfish with what you have and what you've worked for on your own. Because honestly, it doesn't matter if you're a doctor and lawyer or whatever other high-powered career you may have, and that you're making really good income or whatever else. Income is not the issue here. Income is not what we're talking about. We are talking about assets. We are talking about properties. We are talking all these different types of things. Now, I know your income is going to help you purchase those types of things, but that's going to be something you want to do with your spouse. And let's not get it twisted. If you are married to somebody who has a high-powered career, you also have roles in your marriage. Just because you may not be the individual bringing home the bacon, so to say, then you have roles in your marriage. For instance, I just want to put this out there because this is a situation that my wife and I are in right now. I've told you guys previously that my wife is pregnant, and we're really excited about that. And as you guys know, I'm getting a PhD in finance, and I teach courses at the university, and my wife is a paralegal, and so since I'm in the PhD program, she is bringing home a good salary, and so we want her to keep working. Well, I have a much more flexible schedule than she does, so we've decided that when we have our child, then I will stay home with our child multiple days a week. That will be my role in that place. You have to be willing to take on roles that are necessary for the good of your family. Just because your role may not be making the money, that does not mean that you are not a valuable asset to that family. That does not mean that you are not a valuable asset to the individual who is making the money. You are an extremely valuable asset to the individual who is making the money. And so I don't want to get that twisted with you individuals who are going into a marriage where maybe there aren't a lot of assets, but there's a lot of income potential. When there's that income potential, that doesn't mean anything to me. You don't need a prenup. You need to find your roles within that marriage. Now, I have an issue if you're not willing to play your role. I have an issue if you're just going to marry somebody with a high-powered career and lay on it. Like, I have an issue with that, right? But that needs to be ironed out before you ever get into a marriage with somebody. That has to be ironed out, or else it's going to be painful regardless of a prenup or not. That marriage obviously wasn't built on trust and love and communication and understanding. That was built on something far more vain and far more selfish than that. And even further than all of this, even further than me saying you guys do not need a prenup if you were just in this place of one person's going to make a better income than the other. I think that if somebody is requiring that you sign a prenup before you get married, to them, and neither of you have assets, okay? Because I've talked about the situations when I think a prenup may be legitimate. But if neither of you have any assets and you're just beginning your life together, and that person's going to have a really good job and they're trying to force a prenup on you, then you should not marry that person. Because quite obviously, see, because this is the thing. Not only does a prenup give the individual who has assets an upper hand, not only does it create distrust, not only does it give them rights to their money that you will not have as their spouse, it gives them a way out. It gives them an easy out. And that's what I was saying earlier about, I said it makes divorce easier. It makes divorce like you're planning for a divorce. And we don't want to plan for our divorce. We don't want to make it easy to just step right out of the institution of marriage. Marriage is supposed to last a lifetime. It's supposed to be until death do us part, until, as long as we both shall live. That's how long marriage should last. And so just making an easy way out for yourself is selfish. It lacks trust in the other individual, and it questions your motives for getting in the marriage in the first place. Like, if you're the person with the money or with the income potential, especially the person with the income potential, if you're that person and you're saying, well, I have to have a prenup or I'm not, getting married to this person, then you probably don't need to get married to that person, because you're obviously not in a place where you love and trust them. You're obviously not in a place where they are somebody that you can go to and trust to do things and deal with your money. And I mean, because that's the crazy thing. And we've talked about this earlier this week. Again, we want to combine our finances. And the reason we want to do so is so we can all be on the same page and be going in the same direction. But if we are not combining our finances, then we're just going in two different directions. We are veering off in different directions. And if you're doing that, and one person has the income and the money, and the other person may have a lesser job, or not be bringing home income, or whatever it may be, then it's just going to make it easier and easier to just fall apart in your marriage and be in a place where you're not going to trust each other. You're going to resent each other. You're going to resent your spouse who makes all the money. You're going to look down upon your spouse who doesn't bring home as much money as you, or brings home less money than you do. It automatically creates this power dynamic that does not need to be in your marriage.